All right, everybody. So now we're going to take a closer look at the weld samples I showed you guys in the introduction video. And we're just going to take a look at them. I'm sure many people haven't seen welds close up. And for these, I used a couple different techniques. So you guys get to see different weld beads and different patterns that I chose to show you guys. So I'll start off with this one. So as you can see, it's not the best. I mean, it's all right. Kind of looks like the key word of welding is you always want to stack dimes. Like, you always want to make it look very nice. So here, I tried to space out our weld puddle a good distance just for aesthetics, just so you guys could really see what a big gap looked like. As we translate over to here, this one's like, I like this look better. And this was a different technique that I used, same process of welding, but those ripples that you can see, they're very uniform and close together, and it's very pleasing. I think they look great, and it's just personal preference. Moving on to here, this is called a stitch weld. So just like the first one I showed you, I kind of spread out those welds on the top and bottom. This is a 2-pass weld sample. So on this top one, you can see it's just different movement with the welder, and it looks really cool. I'll show you guys how I did that. So here we get a first-hand look at what it looks like under a welding mask when performing this type of weld. So as you can see, I'm moving my torch tip in and out of the molten puddle, which allows the puddle to form, and then bringing it back in creates that ripple pattern. So if you look closely, you can see that orange ball, and that is the weld actually being molten. And it's a really cool looking weld, and we will see the result coming up here shortly of what it turned out to be. So in an oscillating weld, we can see how my torch movement is significantly different. It moves in a circular motion, and I slowly travel across the metal, and you can see how that molten puddle is following, but staying pretty closely to my actual weld. And it's very unique and has a really nice looking ripple pattern, as we see in the upcoming picture. You can see how those ripples are very tight. Okay, so here we're going to look at our last piece of welding, and this is actually called stick welding or arc welding. And it uses an electrode, which I show you right there, and it's consumable, and it gets stuck into a piece called a stinger, and that works the same as the MIG gun that I was showing you with the torch tip. So this is the same thing. As you can see, I'm laying out what I'm about to weld, because it can get difficult to see sometimes, especially when the arc gets struck. And you can see here, I kind of flick the rod like you're striking a match, and it works the same. As soon as it hits it, it begins to initiate. So as you can see there, the arc is established, and I begin to weld along the plate. And you can see that it's a very high intense light, and unfortunately that's why I wasn't able to get clear footage up close like I did previously, but you still get the gist of it here. And as I'm moving along here, you can see how my hands are getting closer to the material, because that is the rod is depositing itself onto the base plate. So it takes a lot of different body position to get arc welding down. It's a lot of movement to get used to. And as you can see, I'm getting closer and closer, and I'm reaching the end of the plate. And you can actually see behind the bright light to the right, you can see the molten puddle actually forming, which is the orange right there. And right there we go. So that's the weld solidifying right there. And you can see it has like a grayish color on top of it. And that's because the rod has a coating around it that protects the weld from things in our atmosphere that can contaminate it. So I have a chipping hammer there that actually gets rid of the slag, which is what it's called, and underneath it is the actual weld. So that slag coating protects it from anything that can get inside of the weld puddle and cause a disformity, which can affect its strength and overall look. So there I'm just chipping it off and using a wire brush to remove the slag, which will allow my viewers here to see what the weld looks like once it is nice and clean And here I'll grab my pliers and show everybody what it looks like. So overall, it was a good tie-in, a good-looking weld, and I would say um, it was very solid. So overall, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something new, and I'm happy to say that it was a really fun experience for me, and I hope everybody else enjoyed it as much as I did. And I hope you guys pick up a welder sometime and use your hands and have fun with it. Um, I hope everybody stays safe and take care. Thank you for joining me.